Hello, all. Michael Kane here, and I'm here to do a commentary. I don't know what this accent is anymore. And yeah, I'm joined by Isaac again.
You can leave this house at once, Mr. Scrooge.
And we are doing a commentary to the Muppet Christmas Carol, completing our trilogy of festive commentaries. So yeah, I don't think there's much more to say. So without further ado,
If you'd like to sync this up with your own copy of Muppet Christmas Carol or watching the Blu-ray version, put the film to the start and press play now. So, I consider this a crime if you don't watch this every year at Christmas.
oh yeah, oh for sure. This is. I mean, to be honest, I'd never. I grew up with it, but I didn't watch it until I was about 10. So it's not one that I have really early childhood memories of. But since I watched it for the first time, I can't remember. I can't imagine Christmas without watching this.
Yeah, I first watched it on Channel 4 when I was about 9 years old, and yeah, fell in love with it, and I watch it every year. And might not have seen it there, but we did get a Jim Henson and Richard Hunt.
We did, yeah.
Memoriam there, because this was the first Muppet film made without Jim Henson, because I think he died 2 years before this film came out.
Yeah, very sad that you never got to see this.
Yeah, and Richard Hunt played, I think, was the original Scooter.
Oh,
and
nice.
I think he sadly died of AIDS.
Yeah, that's sad. So this.
Now,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what I love about this town, what we're seeing here, is that even though you see humans in it, it looks like it was built for Muppets.
Yeah, and I love the production design of this film so much. Like, I think it just feels like this otherworldly Christmas universe. And it's got this Muppet spin to it, but it just has this striking look to it. I think it's fantastic.
Have you ever read the original book?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Me too, yeah.
And this is pretty dead on.
It is pretty similar and faithful to the book, and to be honest, I can't really recall any version I've seen that is completely unfaithful. Mainly because I think a lot of people love it and don't think, oh, we need to make so many changes to it. Because I think it's just a very simple tale.
Yeah, the one version that I didn't even finish because I hated it so much was I don't know if you saw it last year. The BBC aired like a 3-part adaptation of it, starring Guy Pearce. And
I didn't watch that. No, I heard it wasn't very good.
No, it wasn't. I watched the first two, and it was just like there was no joy in the story at all. Like they had sucked all the joy out of it, and they'd added like loads of swearing and like adult themes to it. So like Scrooge was like, I think it was like Scrooge was like cheating with Emily Cratchit and stuff, and like giving her sexual favors, and she had massive guilt. It was just so like completely.
That's just weird.
It was really like I honestly find it a bit kind of perverse, to be honest. It was just so yeah, and I never bothered watching the third one because it had lost me. But that's like the only version I can think of where it was like completely like unfaithful. Yeah.
I remember seeing the Jim Carrey one in cinemas actually in 2009. I really enjoyed. I liked that one.
I really like that.
I didn't see it in 3D, but even then, seeing it on a big screen just blew me away. The way the ghost transports Scrooge across the city and across time, it's great.
Yeah, I watched that yesterday actually. It's still one of my favourite versions of it. I whenever I think of Scrooge, I think of that Jim Carrey version, like the skinny, sort of spindly. Yeah, I just really like it.
Now, this Muppet film and Muppet Treasure Island are the ones that resonate with me most as a kid, but I'm probably going to have to say Treasure Island more because with Christmas Carol you could only watch it once a year because, well, it's Christmas. But Treasure Island you could watch all year round, and yeah, those are the two that really resonated with me most as a kid, and it led to kind of a bit of a. I used to think because Gonzo and Rizzo play such a large role in both of those stories, I thought they were the main Muppets, and I completely forgot about like Kermit and Miss Piggy and Fozzie.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Because they're not. Obviously, Gonzo's playing Charles Dickens, but they're not really playing characters, really. Whereas the rest of like Kermit is playing Bob Cratchit. You know, they are playing characters, whereas these two are just being themselves.
Yeah.
So I can see why. I mean, to be honest, I do remember watching Treasure Island on VHS as a kid, but I've not seen it in years. But I do remember Tim Curry being excellent in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've kind of really, I always liked the Muppets as a kid, but when they did the reboot, that was kind of, I remember watching that as a child and getting really, like watching all the old films again and stuff and getting really into it when they did that reboot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because this is how I'm watching it. I eventually bought the 6 Muppet Blu-ray film collection, which was released by Disney a few years ago.
Yeah.
And it pretty much has all the theatrical Muppet films apart from Take Manhattan and Muppets from Space, because I heard they're owned by Sony Disney.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
Take Manhattan is weird, because I remember, I have very clear memories of that, but I never ever see it talked about, like, within the Muppet canon, really. It seems sort of...
Yeah, I think
sort of the odd one out.
Yeah, because I don't think it's a horrible film by any means. I just think it takes itself a bit too seriously.
Yeah.
But honestly, because it was Jim Henson's final Muppet film, you can see it as a look back on his career, because apparently, you know, the Muppets start in college, everyone says, oh, we should take this to Broadway. Jim Henson was encouraged that. He found it really hard to get into show business, so he had a few years in marketing, which is what Kermit does when he loses his memory in that film.
Yeah,
and then he makes his big break into showbiz.
Yeah, and that's the last one with Jim Henson voicing Kermit, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Now, the co-writer of the songs on this, Paul Williams, didn't he voice the Penguin in Batman the Animated Series?
I think so, yeah. It's a really cool little fact, like little pop culture crossover kind of.
Yeah. I think Michael Caine said this was one of his favourite roles, and I can see why.
Oh yeah, he's. It's very easy to take the piss with Michael Caine's voice, but he's like, he is a great Scrooge. He's a genuinely fantastic version of the character, and especially when you get to the end with the grave and stuff, it's yeah.
Because he takes it seriously enough, but he doesn't take it too seriously that it becomes stupid.
Yeah,
I think he takes it. Yeah, I think he performs it as if he was in a quote-unquote normal version of A Christmas Carol.
Well, that's the thing. This film isn't. This film could have failed if it was just the Muppets do A Christmas Carol. If it was just the Muppets implanted into the Christmas Carol, but it is the Muppets are actively involved in the story, but they don't change the story. It's still a fantastic version of the story. It's not just the Muppets run around Victorian England, which it so could have been. It's a fantastic version of the story, and I still think it's one of the best adaptations.
Yeah, I mean, if this was in the if this was the Muppet Show, you would have got that, because occasionally they do classic, stories, or they do famous scenes, but their real personalities would take over and everything would go wrong. But that was part of the joke. Whereas here they take it seriously and it's good.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I honestly, I think it gets, by the general public especially, I don't think it gets enough credit for being such a good version of the story.
Yeah.
I think people just sort of remember it as the Muppets, the one with the Muppets at Christmas, I think. But the fact that it is so good and so representative of the novel, it's a perfect way to get kids into the story.
Yeah, I mean, recently my cousin watched Mickey's Christmas Carol, and he said he really liked it, having never seen A Christmas Carol before.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll convince him to watch more versions.
Yeah.
But I'd say my favourite Scrooge is probably Alastair Sim from the 1950s, because he just plays it as a man who does not care anymore and had given up trying to be happy and just pushes away anyone who tries to change that.
Yeah, nice. I've only ever seen clips of the Alistair Sim version. I've never actually watched it all the way through, which is probably a sin to some people.
It's on YouTube.
But, oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, honestly, the Alastair Sim one, the George C. Scott version, the Patrick Stewart version, they're all pretty much on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, I have seen...
taken them down.
Yeah, we watched the George C. Scott version in school. I remember watching that quite clearly. Because I really like the design
Mark
of...
Strickson is in that.
He is, yeah. I really like the design of Marley in that. Obviously, it's the same basic design of Marley that we're used to seeing, but I really like how he's portrayed in that. It also looks like a zombie, almost.
Yeah.
And the changes they make in this version, like, they're necessary and they're smart, but they don't impact the story. Like, perfect example is having 2 Marleys instead of 1. Like, that's a necessary and clever change to include Statler and Waldorf, but it doesn't impact the story in any way. It just it's a perfect sort of adaptation to the Muppet universe, really.
I'm surprised they didn't make Fred a Muppet.
Yes, I'm surprised as well. But then again, it comes back to that thing that Scrooge is... Everyone's central to Scrooge's story, really, apart from Fozziwig. Or Fezziwig turns into Fozziwig, but everyone's central to Scrooge's story is a human, really. Yeah. Have you seen the Screen Junkies' raw commentaries to this?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh my god! When Screen Junkies first started out, they did this series called Raw Commentaries, which was just like celebrity impersonators, like providing like amusing commentary over a scene from a film, and this was one of them. And they have an impressionist of Michael Caine doing it, and it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. It's so like I'm probably going to quote it a lot during this, but it's like, the green one, he's got no bloody eyes. He's got no bloody eyes. And when he's looking at Beaker later, it's like staring at a penis, a bloody little penis. Oh, it's hilarious. If no one's watched that, anyone listening hasn't watched that, check that out. It's hilarious.
Now, Matt Lucas put on his Instagram, I think just today, he got a message saying, it was a picture of Bunsen here in the Victorian outfit saying, "This you?" And, yeah, he just reacted with a lot of happiness.
Oh my
and
god.
like, "Oh, thanks." Yeah.
Does look like him.
I'm surprised they've never really made any joke about Bunsen, because he clearly has no pupils. How does he see?
He's got no
It's
bloody
just
eyes.
a green head.
I wonder if there's a story behind that. Like, I wonder if the creation of Bunsen was literally, someone forgot to glue the eyes on and they just went for it.
Yeah. Have you seen Mickey's Christmas Carol?
Not for years. I remember watching it as a kid, but I haven't seen it in a long time.
Watched it for the first time recently, and the reason he gives to the moneylenders is actually quite funny. He says, "Oh, you see, lads, if I gave money to the poor, that wouldn't make them poor anymore. That would make me poor and them rich." It completely matches with Scrooge McDuck's character, but it stays in line to Ebenezer Scrooge's reason for not giving money.
Yeah. So I think like a lot of versions of the story kind of do make the mistake of making Scrooge like are completely beyond hope, beyond redemption.
Yeah,
a lot of versions make that mistake, and it's important that he's not a totally. He has logic to his beliefs, and you can sort of imagine him as a good man once. Again, like coming back to the Guy Pearce one I was talking about earlier, that he was just a genuinely despicable human being that was beyond redemption, that deserved to die. Just then, you know, that I couldn't imagine that version being a good person. Whereas I think a good version of Scrooge is one way you can imagine them being good and being pleasant and all that. Whereas, and I think this version does that very well. Like, you can imagine him as this warm figure, but he's just he's just mean and moody, you know. And that Michael Caine fits that really well.
Yeah, because George C. Scott, well, I think he's great as Scrooge. There is one bit in the film where I think that's a bit harsh even for Scrooge. When he says the famous line, "Every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lip should be roasted alive with his own turkey," he actually laughs at that line, thinking, is he taking pleasure in it? Is he taking pleasure in being mean? Because with Alistair Sim and definitely Michael Caine, I think what Dickens was getting with Scrooge is that this is a man who hated himself as much as he hated others.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Now, I know Steve Whitmire, who took over playing Kermit for the first time from Jim Henson in this film. He was so nervous that he wouldn't be able to do him justice. Yeah.
And he's my Kermit. Like, he's the Kermit that he's the default Kermit that I think of. Obviously Jim Henson is iconic, but Steve Whitmire as Kermit is still the version that I sort of think of. Although the new guy, Matt Vogel, I think is his name, because Steve Whitmire got fired, which is weird. But the new guy who's doing it, it took me a while to get used to it, but I actually really like him now.
I've not listened to him yet, but it's kind of a shame that Disney hasn't done a third. Not third, like 10th, 9th. Is that it?
Well,
Muppet film yet?
I know what you mean, like a third in the reboot series, because they make a joke of that in Muppets Most Wanted. Like
we're doing a sequel.
Yeah, and
this is the 6th sequel to our original motion picture.
Yeah, because I really like those two reboot films, and a lot of people don't like the second one, but I really like it, and it's a shame that Disney sort of bought. Disney aren't doing anything with the Muppets. It's really weird. There's the new Disney Plus TV series, but that's like a small thing. That's not. We need a new film.
But I think they're definitely back in the public conscious, because in the noughties they were kind of a cult thing.
Yeah.
Like, you'd see them in an advert, or there'd be the occasional toy you'd see, but that was about it, because I think everyone thought, the Muppets are over now, they're a thing of the past. But yeah, when they came back in 2011, they really caught people's nostalgia,
really
and
did.
I think the world just started to like them again.
Well, that was what was so clever about that reboot film, is it acknowledged that the Muppets just like weren't popular anymore. And that was the whole point of that film, was just them making a joke about how they've lost relevancy and trying to get it back. That's why I love that film so much.
Yeah. Now, I think in the book, probably the only change here is that I think Bob Cratchit is Scrooge's only employer. I don't think he has any other helpers.
No, that's true. Yeah. And that's one.
I think they did it obviously just to add some gags.
Well, yeah, just to add some background characters. Again, it makes sense, really. And the Jim Carrey one has that as well, because Bob Cratchit is like in this corner of the office, like freezing cold, because Scrooge won't give him any coal for the fire and stuff.
There's a funny thing, because in this film, when Scrooge is redeemed, he gives his bookkeeper's coal, and quite a few kids wrote to, I think, Brian Henson saying, Why did Scrooge give them coal? Why have they been bad? But it's what they wanted. Whereas you say, oh, you've been bad, you'll get coal in your stocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they got confused there. I think Rizzo didn't become a character on the show until season 4, season 5, because I've got the first 3 seasons on DVD and he's not in them.
He's a late addition,
Yeah.
isn't he? Yeah, he's not really. Yeah, but again, he's for me, it's like part of that classic lineup, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Gonzo and Rizzo felt more like the main Muppets to me as a kid than Kermit.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you look at the first 3 films, the main characters are definitely Kermit, Fozzie, and Miss Piggy.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and by Muppets from Space, the film is actually about Gonzo.
Yeah. What I think it's the Muppets Wizard of Oz that's the one that everyone hates. That's the bad one, isn't it?
Yeah, I've not
never
seen, but
Me
I
neither.
don't want to see it.
No, me neither. I don't know why it's so
Kermit's
hated.
Swamp Years. I've seen Kermit's Swamp Years. That's just it. I mean, it contradicts the first film, the Muppet movie, because that film establishes that Kermit has never been out of his swamp, whereas that seems to imply he had an adventure when he was 12, then went back home.
Yeah, it doesn't quite line up, does it? No, it's...
Yeah, and I do like how there is fourth wall jokes with Gonzo and Rizzo whispering. It's for dramatic purposes.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes complete sense. It's again, I don't. Yeah, it works really well in this.
Have you seen the Doms videos on A Christmas Carol?
I haven't actually. No, I haven't. Yeah.
Honestly, check them out. They're a really fascinating analysis. They're basically, because there's been so many versions of A Christmas Carol, he's done them like the Oscars, whereas there's nominations from certain films for different categories, like Best Scrooge, Best Ghost of Christmas Past, Present Future, Most Accurate Dialogue,
Yeah.
Best Adaptation. This won Best Adaptation overall.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It's in terms of adapting the story for the screen. Like I said, it's genuinely good. And it deserves more claim for that than it gets, because it is much more than just, like I said earlier, the Muppets in A Christmas Carol. It's more
Yeah, because this
than that.
did start. It started life as a TV special, and they were going to have, I think, Kermit the Frog as the Ghost of Christmas Past, Fozzie as the Christmas Present, and
Yeah.
I don't know who'd have been Ghost of Christmas Future, but yeah, it would have just been the Muppets. Whereas here they decided to revise it and said, well, why don't we create ghosts that are faithful to the book, but it gives us an opportunity to create new Muppets.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the design of the Ghost of Christmas Past in this is really creepy. Like, I think it's a really creepy look.
Yeah, because interesting. Well, in the book, it's the Ghost of Christmas Past is described as a man and a woman, young and old, strong and weak, and also carries a cat.
Yeah.
As if ones that you snuff out candles with.
Yeah.
And having the ghost look like a youngish, oldish ghost does fit with the description in the book.
It does fit, yeah.
The only thing it lacks is the cap, and Scrooge's attempted murder of the ghost.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's implied in the book that Scrooge murders the Ghost of Christmas Past, because he says, "Haunt me no longer," and puts the cap over him, which extinguishes him forever.
Yeah. And that's I find it very interesting that the the Ghost of Christmas Present and the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, those designs kind of stay through all the adaptations. Those designs are relatively similar, but the Ghost of Christmas Past is the one that a lot of adaptations are sort of free to do what they want with. Like the Ghost of Christmas
Yeah,
Past is
'cause
different in a lot of versions, and I find that interesting.
yeah, 'cause sometimes it's played by a man, sometimes it's played by a woman, whereas present and future they're always played by a.
Yeah, yeah, and like the Jim Carrey version, I thought did it really well because it was literally like a living flame, and it had the cap, and obviously you had the bit where Scrooge went, "Hold me no longer," and that, you know, you said the young and old thing. The face of the Ghost of Christmas Past changed a lot in that, and it kind of confronted Scrooge with a lot of the people that he'd wronged in the past by changing its face and stuff. So I really like that version. And like you said, it fits with the cap, with the book and stuff. But yeah. And the atmosphere of this film was amazing.
It is, yeah.
It's like, you know,
it's got really good winter colours.
It has, yeah. And like we missed it obviously, but the shot with Kermit looking at the moon at the end of the song, that's one of my favourite shots in any Christmas film. I think it's gorgeous.
Now, of course, the biggest difference here is that Jacob Marley is just one person in the book. He does not have a brother, as far as we know.
Yeah.
But obviously, they did this to give Statler and Waldorf both apart.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Again, it's a clever change, and it just because what else would Statler and Waldorf have done in this story? They wouldn't have had any role otherwise. It makes perfect sense to give them this.
I think in the book his jaw snaps or something, and he has to put it right. And yeah, I can see why they cut that out.
Well, that's part of it. He's got like a tie on his head, and it holds his jaw in place, and it keeps like snapping out of place, and he has to tie it back to sort of speak. Yeah, it's been a while since I've read the book. Actually, I need to go back and read it. It's been a good few years.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, I'm willing to bet they just made Statler and Waldorf both Marley so they could have a Bob Marley joke.
Yeah.
Robert Marley.
Robert Marley.
Now, one thing I really do like in the Alistair Sim version is that it does show in the past Scrooge's fall to the dark side a bit more, because it's not in the book, but the day Marley dies, Scrooge is told he's dying, and he says, "I'll only visit him when closing time is done," which is obviously pretty harsh, but it shows how far he's fallen.
Oh yeah, and it's does it, yeah. Because I always think that his relationship with the Marleys is almost, in a lot of adaptations, is kind of ambiguous. Like, you don't know if he kind of treated them the same way as he treats everyone else. It's implied not, because they sort of have implied that they're both as bad as each other. But yeah, it's every time I watch A Christmas Carol, any version of it, and every time I read the book, I'm always like, oh, I want to know more about Marley and what his deal with Scrooge was.
Yeah, because Scrooge is redeemed, but Marley is destined forever in the afterlife to hold down a terrible chain and live a life of torment. That's a bit harsh.
Yeah. In fact, I remember in like year 7 in English, we had to when we were studying A Christmas Carol, we had to like make our own chain, and they were like, okay, so if you died right now, what would be on your chains? And it's like, that's a bit dark to give to year 7 kids. It's like, what?
Oh, okay. Now, I think we should talk about the interesting fact of the omitted When Love Is Gone, because having listened to it on YouTube, it makes zero sense to me why it was cut.
Yeah, it
Because
was.
apparently they said it was too sad. I mean, what?
That's the thing.
Oh.
It was basically, from what I can gather, it was they were afraid kids would get bored because it kind of stops the film for this big romantic song. But it's like it. All right, if you cut the big payoff at the end then, because the song at the end is a variation and a reprise of When Love Is Gone.
Yeah, it's The Love We Found.
It's a counterpoint to it. But, thankfully, hopefully, the news came out recently that they have finally, after all these years, found the original negative, and it is being re-added into the film. It's being put into the version on Disney Plus now. So thankfully, it's finally being put back into the film where it belongs, and I'm so happy about that because for years it was lost.
Yeah, because it was cut from the theatrical cut, put back in for the video, then cut out again for the DVD and Blu-ray. It doesn't make sense.
And that's the thing. I actually think there's some DVD out there, like an early release of it, or maybe even, I don't know, but there's definitely some DVD of it that has it. And I think most people agree that the Laserdisc is the best quality for it.
Okay.
And currently on Disney Plus, if you go into it and you go on the extras page for it on Disney Plus, it is there as a deleted scene, and it's not bad quality. It is standard definition, but it is in widescreen. But obviously now that it has been found, we will all be able to finally enjoy it in high definition. And yeah, I'm so happy that they found the negative for that, because for years it sounded like they destroyed it. And that was a
because I heard recently, it's unlikely it'll ever get released, but I'm glad it's coming out.
Well, that's the thing. I heard that as well. I heard, it'll never get released because that negative's gone forever. And then recently it was like they were returning to the film for a remaster, and they found that negative, and it's like, yes, I'm honestly over the moon at that news. Because, like you say, it's so integral to the story, and it never ever should have been cut at all. It was just such an idiotic decision. The effects in this haven't aged that badly either. I think they still hold up.
Yeah, because apparently this puppet for the Ghost of Christmas Past was filmed in a water tank.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me because the way it's like floating and around and stuff. That's what I was talking about earlier. It looks really creepy. It's the head. It looks like a doll. It's really freaky. But yeah, the movement of it is great. And like the flying effects don't look that bad. They don't look.
No, they don't.
They don't look awesome. They don't look awesome, but they do look all right. They're better than Superman 4. Put it that way.
Yeah, there's no static image of Scrooge going.
The Ghost of Christmas Past should have had massive nails.
Yeah. What do you do, just scratch him? What is this, space tag? Oh, what was that?
Destroy Scrooge.
No. Yeah. I mean, as you say, I've not seen the BBC adaptation of A Christmas Carol, but it would not surprise me if that did happen the way you described it.
Yeah, I'm tempted
the ghost
to
saying, "Destroy Scrooge."
I'm tempted to go back and watch it, but like it, because the some of it looked so good. Like the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come was like this guy in a top hat with his mouth sewn shut, and it looked really cool. And like that, if you're gonna do a darker version of the story, that makes sense. But it's like when you start adding things like incest and Scrooge being a potential adulterer and stuff, and it's like
Ugh.
It's just gross. And like Andy Serkis was in it as well.
Who did he play again?
I think he was the Ghost of Christmas Past.
Oh, nice.
But again, the Ghost of Christmas Past, who's arguably the nice. Well, no, Christmas
I'd say
Present
is the nicest one.
But even so, like Christmas Past isn't supposed to be a dick, and like in that it was like I don't know,
because in the book the Ghost of Christmas Past does say I don't think it enjoys taunting Scrooge.
Yeah.
It just says these are the things that have been, don't blame me.
Yeah.
Whereas the Ghost
passive.
of Christmas Present, I'd argue, in the book kind of light seeing Scrooge in discomfort.
Yeah.
As in light echoing his own words back to him.
And decrease the surplus population.
Now we see Sam Eagle here as actually hold on, I do like this gag of all the famous writers in Muppet form, like Shakespeare and yeah, that is pretty fun. Yeah, we're about to see Sam Eagle as Scrooge's teacher, and I think that's the first role Oz has in this.
Yeah. The American way.
'Cause I know he's
the British way.
You are all weirdos. Yeah, because I know Frank Oz, he's retired from Muppet performing duties now, but the guy they got to replace him, Eric Jacobson, I think his name is, he's really good. It honestly sounds exactly like Frank Oz.
Well, that's it, yeah. And I was talking about the new guy who's Kermit. It's a very different voice. Like it's almost more nasally than before, and the new Kermit voice is very different. But it still sounds like Kermit. It's different, but I got used to it after a bit. Whereas I think, like you said, the guy who replaced Frank Oz was a bit more sort of traditional to Frank Oz's original voices. I always forget how short this film is as well. It's only
yeah, it's only an 85.
Yeah.
Well, it would be 90 minutes if they put in When Love Is Gone, but
true,
yeah. Let's going back to the George C. Scott version, because Mark Strickson played Scrooge as a teenager and young adult.
Yeah.
And yeah, he at VorpCon in 2019, he even talked about it a bit.
Oh,
he said, "My mum watches it every Christmas. It's a tradition for us."
Yeah, because that was a TV version, wasn't it? It was like a made-for-TV movie.
Yeah, honestly, quite a lot of versions of A Christmas Carol are TV movies.
Yeah.
There's the George C. Scott one, the Patrick Stewart one, the Kelsey Grammer one that's a musical that you've probably never heard of because the music is so cheesy that
I have heard of it.
You'll become lactose intolerant. Yeah, I like Alan Menken, but the cheese factor is just so awful in that.
Have you ever seen the Albert Finney version?
Oh yeah, that's a theatrical version, I think, because it's called Scrooge, kind of in the same way that Oliver was called that. Heck, I think some critics were saying it does for A Christmas Carol what Oliver did for Oliver Twist.
Because I've seen clips of that, and it does seem very over the top and very silly. Yeah. Albert Finney kind of plays Scrooge like this, and he uses this voice. Which, yeah, I've not seen the whole thing, but it's like...
So just going back to George C. Scott, I think he might be one of those few actors who've played two iconic Charles Dickens characters, because he's played Scrooge, obviously, but I think in 1982 he played Fagin in an Oliver Twist TV movie.
Oh, nice! I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, and Tim Curry played Bill Sikes. Yeah, you may laugh, but he was actually pretty scary in that.
Yeah, yeah.
Note that he's not called Fezziwig, they just call him Fozziwig.
That is such a, like, it's an obvious gag, but it's really smart. Like, it's such a smart, like, of course, if you're gonna do, oh, what Muppet should we put on Fezziwig? Oh, Fozzie.
Fozziwig!
It makes sense.
I know Ian McNeice, who Doctor Who fans may remember as Winston Churchill, from Series 5, actually played Fozziwig in the Patrick Stewart version.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of Doctor Who, I did watch Doctor Who Christmas Carol the other day. And
yeah, I tend to dedicate an evening of watching Doctor Who Christmas specials. I don't watch them all, I just go for like 4. I go for like The Unquiet Dead, because that's the closest we've got to a Ninth Doctor Christmas special.
Yeah.
Christmas Invasion, A Christmas Carol, and I think Husbands of River Song.
Nice, yeah. Those are probably the most Christmassy, I would say.
But definitely give Chimes of Midnight a listen.
Yeah,
from Big Finish. Sure. It's only $2.99 and for a download, and yeah, it is set at Christmas, so it counts.
It is a Christmas special, yeah. Yeah, A Christmas Carol is probably the only one that I like watch like as a tradition every year. But I do dip into like Christmas Invasion occasionally. Like I said, I don't watch them all because one, there's too many of them, and two, not all of them are brilliant. A lot of them are shit.
That would mean that would mean for me watching specials like The End of Time, Doctor the Widow and the Wardrobe, The Snowmen again when I really don't want to.
Yeah. I don't mind the Snowmen. I don't mind the Snowmen, but yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I would. Is Return of Doctor Mysterio a Christmas special? Because
funny enough, I did watch it earlier today, and I mean, it's kind of Christmassy in the way that BBC or ITV shows a superhero movie at Christmas. It's kind of like in that sense, because apart from I think the opening scene, I can't recall if it is even set at Christmas.
I don't think it is, and like it, it's odd, and it is why it sort of puzzles me. As a lot of fans are complaining about the move to New Year's special now, and it's kind of like, well, let's be fair. You could have aired Return of Doctor Mysterio on New Year's, and it wouldn't have made any difference.
That would work very well as a New Year's. Yeah, it doesn't bother me because I just kind of feel like RTD and Moffat, they were like, oh, we've got to have a Christmas theme, got to be set at Christmas, there's got to be something Christmassy about it. And whereas Chibnall is just making, with Resolution and Revolution of the Daleks, what I get is that he's making just blockbuster episodes that you can watch after a New Year's Eve hangover.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of Christmas specials. I remember when people used to moan about the Christmas special. Like every year they would dread it because usually they wouldn't be very good, and now like everyone's pining for them to come back and stuff.
Some people never satisfied. Yeah, because I know some morons on the internet are saying that they're getting rid of the Christmas specials because they don't want to offend Muslims.
It's like what?
What world are you living in that you thought of that?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like, well, surely it's just a nice change not to have the Christmas special all the time. It's just a bit of a, maybe next year I'd like to see it again now that we've had a few years away from it. But it's like, it's just a nice change not to have it all the time. I mean, it never bothered me because I never used to watch them live anyway because I was always at a relative's house. I always used to watch them on Boxing Day.
I'd always watch them Yeah, honestly, I'd always watch them live. Then I'd go to my relative's house.
Oh, nice.
Though for the time of the Doctor, which was really important for me because obviously it was Matt Smith's final story, I had to watch it at a relative's house. But yeah, I still managed to watch it live.
Yeah, with big ones like regeneration ones, those are the ones I watched like live, even if I was at a relative's house. I'd sort of they would kind of know that it was a big one because it was the Doctor leaving and stuff, and yeah, they would watch that live.
So yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
We just go from you loved me once, something like that, and we cut to Rizzo crying his eyes out, and you're like, just as a kid, it always puzzled me because I didn't know about the cut when love is gone. And I just thought, why is he crying? It's like they only met a few seconds ago.
Well, you can hear
Yeah.
When Love Is Gone kind of build up in the soundtrack. You can hear the and then it kind of just slowly fades out. And it's such a shame.
And Scrooge is also crying as well, and we don't get why.
It is such a shame because I've forgotten the actor who played Belle, but it's like she's really good and she's got a really nice voice and the song is wonderful, and it's just it's such a shame. But like I said, thank God it's finally being reinstated into the film where it belongs.
Yeah, now I can see why they did cut Scrooge snuffing out the Ghost of Christmas Past with the cat, because that might have been a bit too intense for younger audiences. Because I don't think they would want to imply that Scrooge murdered the ghost.
You say that though, the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come is terrifying.
He is pretty scary, yeah. I mean, even Gonzo and Rizzo make a joke saying, "You're on your own, folks. See you for the finale." Now, this is probably coming up next, my favourite Ghost of Christmas present that we've had in any adaptation, because you can, just from his personality, his attitude towards Christmas, you can see why Scrooge would start to turn good and see the joy in Christmas. The only thing he's missing is that in the book and in a lot of other adaptations, he carries a torch with him.
Yeah.
And when he fades away, he shows Scrooge the two kids' ignorance and want. But I can see why they cut it out for this version, because A, as a puppet here, he looks very flammable.
Yes.
And B, the deformed children that are starving and hungry probably wouldn't be appropriate for a family-friendly audience.
True. Because in the Jim Carrey version, that definitely comes out of nowhere. Like suddenly, like
Oh God, he's like.
Yeah, and like his skin comes off, and you see his skeleton, and it's like, oh my God.
In the book and in quite a few adaptations, he just ages, his beard gets whiter, he starts to look older, and he just fades away. That's it. You don't need him turning into a skeleton.
and like Scrooge sees under his coat like this skinny hand, and he's like, "Is it a foot or a claw?" And it it reveals this two like deformed children and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, this took a turn. But also, what I like about that is in that version, it does cement the fact that Scrooge hasn't fully changed yet, because when that happens, the Ghost of Christmas yet to come sort of turns up, and Scrooge says, "I'm ready to learn the lessons," and then he waits for a bit, and Scrooge is like, "The time is waning fast. It's precious time to me. Lead on, spirit."
Lead on.
And he's like getting impatient and like, precious time to me. So he's still being selfish and stuff. So.
And another thing I like is that this ghost has a bad memory because he's always living in the present.
Yes.
He's, the Ghost of Christmas Present.
It's really good. Yeah.
Oh, those babies look demonic.
They look terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the theatre I used to study in at uni, they always played this at Christmas.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
They always put this song on.
I choreographed all my own dance moves. This one's called the truck driver. This one's the turnaround. The Muppets used to have big orgies off set. Lots of static electricity.
Yeah. I mean, people have theorized that in the book, the Ghost of Christmas Present is either supposed to be Santa or,
Yeah.
from what I've heard, God.
Well, yeah, because I'm not too clued up on my sort of Santa mythology in terms of when the modern Santa we know of turned up. But in the book, there's never really. I don't know whether it was around at the time or not, but there's no mention of Santa, really, is there?
No. Well, funnily enough, in the Alistair Sim version, the black and white version is online, but they also did a colour version a few years later. And his gown is the wrong colour. In the book, it's described as green, but in that, he's red.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe, maybe Coca-Cola got to him. Now I wonder, is it the same? Is the puppeteer inside the suit also doing the voice, or is it two different people?
I was going to say the same thing. I'm not sure because it does look like a suit, doesn't it? But
yeah,
I don't know.
Now, funnily enough, here, the actress playing Clara, Fred's wife, that is, eagle-eyed viewers will know that as Simon's mum from The Inbetweeners.
Holy shit! It is. Oh my god! I knew I'd seen her somewhere.
Yeah.
Oh my god! That has bugged me for years and years, and I just never bothered to look it up.
What the bloody fuck do you think you're doing? Check up on me. What are you, like a Fort Nazi police?
Oh my god!
Go away, you sad man.
I didn't realise that. Oh god, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Now again, I do like Scrooge letting his guard down here, where obviously they can't see him or hear him, but he tries to join in with the game.
Yes, yeah.
Because in the George C. Scott one, he's just like, Spirit, what is the point of this?
Yes.
He's watching them play yes and no, he's like, why are we here? What's the point? Now, I know Catherine Tate did her version. She did a Nan's Christmas Carol,
I watched
which I've not seen.
Oh, I watched it a few weeks ago. It's very good.
What's it like?
It's very funny.
I should give it a look if I can
give it
find
a
a
go.
copy.
David Tennant plays the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Oh.
Yeah, and he
Is he like, come in and know me better, Gran?
He's like this really
I am the Ghost of Christmas Present.
He's like this really camp like punk rocker, and he comes in dancing to the Ghostbusters music, and he turns the music off and he goes, "Oh, gets me every time." It's like, and Roger Lloyd Pack is the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come.
Oh wow!
And the running joke is like that Nan isn't impressed by the ghost, like she's not scared of them, and it's like, I've been told you're a nutter, you're a madman, and he's just like, yes, look at my severed hand, ooh, I'm a nutter. And it's just like, and Ben Miller is the Ghost of Christmas Past, and yeah.
Now we're 53 minutes in, and this is our first appearance of Miss Piggy.
I was going to say, yeah, they wait a long time to show Miss Piggy, don't they? It's
even more in Muppet Treasure Island. She doesn't show up until the third act.
It's quite surprising, because she's one of them. Well, arguably Actually, no, Kermit. I was going to say she's arguably the most iconic Muppet. She's one of like the most iconic Muppets, and it's surprising that they wait so long to introduce her.
One of my favourite moments, which we just missed, is when she looks in the mirror and says, "It does, doesn't it?" I was only checking them to see if they were not burnt. It's a chef's thing, dear.
Kermit walking doesn't look too bad, actually. The effects are okay.
Yeah, I think that was shot on like a wheel or something that you turn around like a bingo thingy.
Because if you look at the ground looks like it's rolling
spinning.
Almost. Yeah. Now, Tiny Tim is played by Robin, and he's what? Kermit's nephew in the show? Something like that? Well, who's Kermit's brother, sister, or anything like that? Actually, no, hold on. In Kermit's Swamp Years, he does have loads of brothers and sisters that we see briefly. Yeah.
That makes sense. Apparently goose is really awful to eat.
I've never had it.
Well, funnily enough, Christmas Eve, our family likes to have crispy duck.
Oh, really? Oh, nice.
Yeah, Christmas Day we always have turkey.
One change that I really liked in the Jim Carrey version was when Scrooge is in this scene. It's actually later on when he sees that Tiny Tim has died. Scrooge is like in the scene, but not in the scene, and like Bob Cratchit tries to hide the emotions from his family, and then as he's walking up the stairs where Scrooge is, he stops and he starts crying. There's tears in his eyes, and Scrooge is like forced to look into the eyes of like a broken man, and like it's
that is
brilliant.
A great scene.
It's absolutely brilliant, and it's something that I wish more versions of the story had, because it's just like Gary Oldman plays it amazingly, and so does Jim Carrey. God, it's motion capture and everything, but like that, it's just fantastic. Really well done.
Yeah, the Cratchits in the book, they were like Christmas's #1 fans. I'm surprised they didn't wear T-shirts saying "I love Christmas" or "We're #1." Yeah, but you can see, I can definitely see why Dickens wrote them to be over enthusiastic like that, because obviously they're poor, they're lower class, and this is the one of those rare moments in the year where they can be happy, forget about all their worries in the world.
Exactly, and that's a lot of what Christmas is about. That's very central to the meaning of the season. See,
why didn't they cut this song for being too sad?
I was just about to say, like, if you're gonna cut any song, if you really have to, I would say this one, because it doesn't necessarily impact anything, and it's not one of the more memorable of songs.
Yeah.
It's a good song, but like I wouldn't. Like I said, if I was going to cut any song, it would be this one. It definitely wouldn't be "Love Is Gone."
Yeah. I know later in Charles Dickens's career, he did a lot of readings of A Christmas Carol in the theatre.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Which obviously you see in The Unquiet Dead. He'd do that a lot around Christmas time, go to theatres and
Yeah.
just read A Christmas Carol. Maybe not in full, but like an abridged version, and yeah, audiences love to see that.
What
I think almost immediately... I think almost immediately after the book was written, plays were already... It was already adapted into the theatre.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't surprise me. In fact, have you... I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the earliest... I think it's one of the earliest adaptations it's on YouTube, and it's partly lost, but it was made in 1901, and it's a film called Scrooge or Marley's Ghost. And
yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, and it's only like 3 minutes because the full 6-minute version is lost, so we have 3 minutes of it. And the BFI uploaded it to YouTube, and it's actually kind of incredible, like what they managed to do. Like they managed to tell the bulk of the story in that short time. And
wow.
The ghost effects
does it have
are like really good for 1901.
Yeah, does it have like those does it have like those captions that describe what's going on, like saying Scrooge sees a ghost?
Kind of. It's like broken into act. But like when Marley comes, when the Ghost of Christmas Past shows himself as a boy, he's he like turns to the audience and like points to himself, and like you can see him mouthing me. So it's like that because obviously it's obviously silent, and it was 1901, so it's ridiculously basic. But it's
Because I've seen The Simpsons parody those types of silent films, and particularly one where Homer's trying to remember a night out. It's literally he goes, it's in like a silent film. He stands outside and goes, maybe I should go in to wet my whistle. Oh, chip chip mo. Scene missing, dancing around in a field. End. Oh, hello, Big Maggie. So yeah, ignorance and want are completely cut here, and the ghost simply just fades away, so... But it's still good.
Yeah, it's fair enough. The effect of the ghost fading away is a little bit dodgy. Like, it doesn't look bad.
It's a bit... Yeah, it does look quite cheap, to be honest. Oh look, someone put Christmas lights on him.
I was going to say, yeah.
Now, for me, the scariest Ghost of Christmas Future, well, probably not the most faithful to the book, is probably the 2009 one. Mainly because I saw it in cinema, and having it be a shadow is such a genius idea, I think.
It's
because
so clever. It's so
yeah,
good.
because it fits with the idea that the future is not solid, because Scrooge asks later, are these the shadows of things that will be, or maybe?
Yes, yeah.
And, yeah, the future is not set, it's not solid, and to have it be a shadow is perfect. And yeah, the way it just jumps out and leaps at Scrooge is just creepy.
And it, like...
But I'm just not the biggest... Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it riding a horse or something, and then turning Scrooge small, and even Scrooge, when he sees it in the horse, he just like, ew, come no, this is singing.
Oh, come now. And yeah, that whole bit in that film where Scrooge shrinks and like his voice goes squeaky, like, yeah, that's not really fan of that. But like, yeah, like you said, like him, and like when Scrooge at the end is like praying to him to like to say, forgive me, whatever. But it's revealed that he's hanging on to like the finger of the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, and it's revealed that the Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come's face is just this skull staring.
Yeah, that is creepy.
Yeah, I love that version. I really love the 2009 one. It's really underrated.
It is, yeah.
Really underrated.
Yeah, this version is pretty good as well. It's you know, it's definitely Muppet-like, but it's scary enough that it doesn't look too goofy or silly.
Oh, it is.
Because they could have easily played this for laughs as well, but they treat it very seriously.
It's really scary, yeah. And because he's so big and imposing. Like, if you saw that, I always imagine if you looked out your window and saw that just like in front of your house or something, that just
like the clown sightings.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I know in the 99 version, the way they do the grave is really creepy. The coffin opens and you actually see Scrooge's dead corpse. Yeah, that is creepy.
That's the thing about the Christmas Carol, is you can have really dark moments, and it can be dark, and it can be gross and filled with horror, but it has to have the joy as well. It has to have an equal amount of both. And that's what the Guy Pearce one got wrong, is it was just all misery and all darkness and death, and there was just no joy to it at all.
Yeah, because this is the weather here, as you see, it's raining, it's wet, there's no snow on the ground.
Yeah.
You'd be mistaken for thinking that it is Christmas, but it is, and yeah, it's a great contrast from the present scene where, yeah, there's snow, everyone's happy, but here, the only people that are happy are the ones that are happy that Scrooge is dead.
And that's the you know, the whole point of the Bob Cratchit scene, where he's in this singing and in other versions celebrating Christmas and stuff, where he leaves work and goes and frolics in the snow. The whole point of that is to show the contrast between Cratchit and Scrooge.
Yeah, definitely.
And powerful. To quote Luke in The Last Jedi, powerful dark, powerful light. Yeah.
And one thing I do like is that, what is it, when Scrooge here is about to see his grave, when he asks who are they talking about, it's like he knows that they're talking about him, but he wants to put it off and deny it.
Yeah, because he keeps turning back to the spirit, doesn't he? And and it's trying to put it off and like trying to escape the truth almost. What Tiny Tim.
Not Tiny Tim.
Not Tiny Tim. I once banged Miss Piggy and he gave me an Indian burn.
I mean, as you say, what, he tries to sleep with Emily Cratchit in the BBC version?
I can't remember. It's like something where he like to like she's giving him sexual favors in return for some money or something.
What?
It's really and she's like so ashamed of it, and so
yeah, Scrooge is a miser. I don't think he'd even have time for sex.
I know, it's just in fact, let me look that up now actually, because it was something like that. And there's this, like, in the first 5 minutes, like, the opening scene of the first episode of that, is someone pissing on the grave of Jacob Marley. And it sets the tone. It sets the tone. And, like, you see Jacob Marley in his grave, and, like, the piss seeps through the soil and lands on his face, and he screams and stuff. It's like, okay, this is lovely.
Yeah, I do like how they treat Tiny Tim's death here. It is serious.
Yeah.
And it does help that Gonzo and Rizzo aren't in this segment of the future scenes, because, yeah, the gags that they did in, like, the past and present ones, they just wouldn't match with this with these scenes at all.
No, they wouldn't, and it's right that they aren't in this.
Yeah, because they know when to be serious and they know when to add comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love how the ghost doesn't even say anything. He doesn't. All he does is just point,
He just points,
and Scrooge
yeah.
knows. Scrooge knows his name is on that, and he just wants to prolong looking at it.
Yeah, and like he keeps turning back and going, these events can be changed, and Michael Caine plays this brilliant.
Yeah.
And he like points at the other grave and stuff.
Like this one, or
yeah.
Though honestly, even in the book, you can see why Scrooge isn't keen on Christmas, because as we see in the past, every bad thing that happened to him was at Christmas, so being keen on this particular holiday is pretty much understandable.
Yeah.
Though being a dick to everyone the rest of the year is not.
Yes, yeah.
Have you ever seen Scrooged starring Bill Murray?
No, but I really want to.
I do as well, because I heard it's a really good parody of the story. Obviously, it's not an adaptation, but yeah, it is. I've heard it's quite a funny parody. The room was his own. Yeah, I think that's dialogue straight out of the book.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a lot of what Gonzo says is from the book, actually.
I mean, that's me waking up Christmas Day. I'm as happy as a feather, light as an angel.
Merry as a schoolboy.
I don't do this, what he does. What's today, my fine fellow? Yeah, because I'm pretty sure someone would just say to me, well, have you not got a calendar?
Yeah.
Or have you not got a phone? They have to wonder, why would a turkey shop be open on Christmas Day?
Yeah, I've always wondered that. Well,
Now, coming up here, when he speaks to Beaker and Bunsen, Beaker gives him a scarf, and this doesn't happen in the book, of course, because he just says to the moneylenders, "Oh, put me down for this, this, and this." And
yes, yeah.
yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he gets the gift in the book, and just realised the scarf that Beaker gives him. That's probably the first Christmas present he ever got
Yeah.
in his life.
Yeah, and that's why it means so much, you know.
Yeah, Michael Caine isn't the best of singers, but
Yeah.
I think because he acts, yeah, he acts it well enough that I can forgive it.
He goes for it, yeah. Yeah.
It's not like a certain actress in a certain live-action Disney remake who sounds so auto-tuned she's a robot.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I want to venture in the great white somewhere.
Where there goes the baker with his tray, like always. Oh, God.
I have a lot of time for Emma Watson. Like, I really love Emma Watson, but yeah, miscast as hell in Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. There's singers who can't act and actors who can't sing. Yes. She's probably one of those actors who can't sing.
Yeah, I respect her a hell of a lot, but yeah. It should have been Daisy Ridley. It should have been Daisy Ridley. I still maintain Daisy Ridley would have
that would have been a great idea, yeah.
Because she looks like Belle. If you you look at Daisy Ridley compared to Belle, they look alike.
They do. No, yeah, his bookkeeper's getting coal. Scrooge hasn't changed his ways, he's still an arsehole. Now, if you look in the background of some of these shops, one of them is called Statler.
Yes, it is, yeah.
And I think there's a reference to Michael Caine's real name, which is Morris something.
Yes, I think so, yeah. Here's where I stopped singing, because I forgot all the bloody words.
Yeah, there it is, Statler and Waldorf.
Statler and Waldorf.
Now, this is quite different from the book, because he actually has Christmas dinner with his nephew.
He does, yeah.
And it's not until the following day where he tries to scare Bob Cratchit into thinking, oh, he's going to fire me, and then saying, I'm about to raise your salary. Yeah, this isn't in the book either, because his teacher and Fezziwig are long dead at this point.
Yeah, they're dead, yeah.
Yeah, I like the gag of them being really, really old.
Yeah, because again, in the 2009 version, it's bless my soul, Fezziwig alive again, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, he's clearly dead.
Yeah. I gave this mouse a bar of soap because she smells so fucking bad.
Yeah, there it is, Micklewhite. That's his real name, Maurice Micklewhite. That's a way better name than Michael Caine. Maurice Micklewhite. You're only supposed to come to bloody work.
A turkey the size of a tangerine.
Listen to me, frog. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Merry Christmas. Here's a bunch of strangers coming into your house.
Yeah. This is someone who doesn't have a head. This is a whatever, a rat. Bunch of penguins, bunch of rats.
Tiny Tim, who did not die.
Yeah, there is one more joke at the end of the film we're about to see where Rizzo says, "Hey, nice story, Mr. Dickens. Thanks. If you like this, you should read the book."
Yeah. See, this, the love we find, it doesn't make a lot of sense without When Love Is Gone. On its own, it's a nice song, but like, you really get the counterpoint to When Love Is Gone.
Yeah, Brian Henson, the director, and Paul Williams, I think they were really annoyed that When Love Is Gone was cut, because they said, as you said, it makes this song come out of nowhere, and you think, well, why are they singing this?
Yeah, because it's a nice song on its own, but it's like it works so much better when it's the counterpoint to the other song.
Yeah.
That was the Muppet Christmas Carol, and
it was, yeah.
Good. It's still really good.
Yeah, it's written into the the World Constitution that you watch this every Christmas.
It's very true. And
if you don't, you are committing high treason, and you will be imprisoned for life.
It's very true. Yeah, because like for me, like the dedication at the start. And that music, like when I hear that, it brings like, it feels like Christmas at that point. Like it's just so sort of synonymous with the season. Yeah, it's. I mean, you know, loads of it's been praised enough at this point, but it really is good, and it's really a fantastic version of the novel. It's just a great Muppet film. Like it's just loaded with the Muppet humor. Obviously, there's not a lot of the kind of pop culture references that the Muppets are known for, but that's kind of expected with a Christmas Carol. You know, it's better without.
Yeah, that is to be expected, because I'd say Muppet Treasure Island is probably more like a Muppet film, because you know, it's pirates and it's an adventure story, so they can take those liberties with it.
Exactly, yeah. Whereas this is a lot more sort of. It's a straight up adaptation of Christmas Carol, and it's great.
Yeah, it's supposed to remind you of why Christmas is such a wonderful time of the year, and it does that with flying colours, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. And it feels like I always said it kind of feels like a toy box. The production design of it and everything. I love the atmosphere. I love how everything looks. It looks just. It's wonderful. It's really good. It's stunning, like a striking version of the story. It really is. And I hope future generations will love it.
Yeah, I hope so too.
And I'm always surprised how short. I know I said it earlier, but I'm so surprised how short it is. It's so.
Yeah,
short.
true. Yeah, this is When Love Is Gone, isn't it? But it's a different version.
It's a.
Yeah.
It just feels like a big slap in the face. You just put it at the end of the end credits. It's just like, I don't know who sings this version. I don't think it's the actress who plays Belle, is it? Or is it? Maybe it is.
No, I don't think it is.
I guess it would say in the credits, won't it? But it's just, yeah, it's such a shame that wasn't in there, and it's still I'm happy that obviously I said before, I'm happy that it's now being reinstated, and I'm happy so many fans have tried to preserve it over the years. Just
Definitely,
really
yeah.
idiotic decision to cut it, because it's all very well kids getting bored, but it's like 4 minutes of a film, maybe not even that, like 3 minutes of the film. It's not like it's not like it's a whole section of the film. It's one song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still, no matter. Oh, it doesn't actually say. It doesn't actually say who sings this version. Huh.
No, it doesn't. That is
It's just the. Oh, that's really weird. I'll have to look that up afterwards. But yeah. And I'm glad that it's become like a staple now. It's become a holiday classic for everyone, really. And it gets talked about a hell of a lot. And Disney seems to be quite proud of it as well. They're always pushing it, which is good.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, that was the Muppet Christmas Carol. I believe now this is probably going to be the last of our Christmas commentaries now.
Unless, it will be the last
one
of our Christmas ones.
So I hope
all good things come in trilogies.
Exactly. Let's not ruin it by doing a pointless 4th installment. Yeah, no, I hope you've enjoyed the commentary to Muppet Christmas Carol. I hope you've enjoyed all our Christmas commentaries. Have a very Merry Christmas, everyone. Go subscribe to Isaac. Thank you for doing this again, Isaac. And we will be back in the new year with some more Doctor Who ones. We'll be wrapping up our Doctor Who series of commentaries. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Bye-bye.